A big hello and a very warm welcome to a special mentorship mini-series called Starting Up with Ronnie Screwvala. In the last few years, we've seen India take giant strides when one talks of entrepreneurship. In fact, every leading newspaper today cannot afford not to cover this community. Starting up today is in vogue, unlike, let's say, a decade ago when most people would have thought that you were just not qualified enough to get a job. And while this scenario is very encouraging, we are still surrounded by a lot of people who are unsure, apprehensive, fearful, and even a little underconfident to walk out of their jobs and build something on their own. But for those who've been brave enough to do so, the journey still seems long and daunting. So this is really ET Now's endeavor to not only celebrate the individuals who have managed to get out there and start up, but also provide them a platform where they can interact, question, and be mentored by one of India's most celebrated entrepreneurs who's been there and done that not just once, but several times over. I'm talking about none other than Ronnie Screwvala. Now, Ronnie Screwvala is a man who really needs no introduction. But for those who don't know him, his entrepreneurial journey is an inspiration, to say the least. Founder of India's largest media and entertainment conglomerates, UTV, Ronnie Screwvala's journey pans from cable TV to toothbrushes, theatre to media and entertainment. So who better than Ronnie Screwvala to really address and mentor individuals who've embarked on their entrepreneurial journey. Thank you so much for joining us, Ronnie. Truly a pleasure to have you on the show, and thank you for doing this.
Thank you, and I hope I live up to the already introduction that you've given me here.
And also joining us today are three very dynamic men. Anish Patel, founder of Hop Motion, Siddharth Vijay, founder of Image Dynamics, and Sharat Bhardwaj of Youth for Work. Thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Now, this is a mentoring series, but with an edge, and I have requested Ronnie to be as candid as possible. So hopefully, you three men will have the stomach for what is going to come your way.
I think you used the word blunt rather than candid, but okay.
And with that, let me put the spotlight on our first entrepreneur, Anish Patel, founder of Hop Motion. But before, of course, I come to you, Anish, let's just flash back and look at Anish's journey and his career timeline before he decided to turn entrepreneur.
Hi, I'm Anish Patel. I'm 38 years old. I pretty much grew up here in Mumbai, and at a very young age, I was very much interested in computer graphics and animation. So, in fact, by the time I was in my 12th standard, I was actually teaching computer graphics at an animation studio. I got the opportunity to go to film school in California and study filmmaking. So once I moved back, I've been working as a writer, director, creative director for television and film. In fact, I work very closely with Shekhar Kapoor on a couple of his projects. I started writing with my co-writer, who's also my wife, and together, we've written a bunch of feature films as well as television shows. And while writing on one such animated TV show, we realized that in India what happens is that a lot of the 2D animation that exists is catered more towards kids, and there's nothing really much out there for teens and young adults. So that basically was the germ for us to kind of start something which is more along where the content is more along the lines of, say, The Simpsons or The Family Guy, or even what you might see in Japan through anime style of television shows and feature films. That was our initial thought. So we got together, we got a couple of animators together, and with a capital of around 10 to 15 lakhs, we started Hop Motion.
That was Anish's story so far before he founded Hop Motion. But of course, to give you a sense of what Hop Motion is all about, I'm going to throw the floor open to you, Anish. Over to you.
So essentially, Hop Motion is a digital 2D animation studio. And what we do is we create broadcast quality animation for the television market in India as well as internationally. We started out with a small team of about 5 animators in 2013, and we've grown to about a team of 45 animators now. And basically what the 3 key areas that we focus on is outsourced animation work for the international market, creating shows in India for the Indian market, and we also create our own digital content for our online entertainment channels. So one of them being Hoppo TV, which is our online channel. This year we'll be coming out with our first Indian production for a television channel, GEC channel in India.
Which has been commissioned by somebody?
Which has already been commissioned,
okay.
Yeah.
Carry on.
We are focusing only on 2D animation, and generally the trend in India has been that 2D animation is only for kids. So what we want to do is we want to open up the space where we can create content that's not just for kids, but also for...
I don't want to shatter your myths, but I think technology won't replace storytelling.
Exactly.
So whether it's 2D or whether it's 3D,
absolutely.
If you haven't got a story right, it'll be for kids or it won't be for kids.
That's absolutely. But if you take the example of anime,
yes.
Anime-oriented TV shows or feature films, that's not a trend that started over here.
No, but that's a very Japanese style also. Anime is a very, very strong Japanese style, and that Korean-Japanese way in which they accept it from
right. So the whole idea is that they've taken the genre of 2D animation, but they've created stories.
But let's get to your questions. Yeah. What are your challenges?
First one would be like as an entrepreneur who's actually had a creative background, when you actually take the plunge, what do you really give weightage to? The creative call or the economics? Because sometimes they are both at loggerheads.
Well, so let's be very clear. What are you? If you're the person who's building a company, it's your job to look at the business side of it as much as it is the creative part. Right. If your job is to be a creative person, then you're not running the company. Then you're the creative head. Then you're the creative catalyst or whatever else you may want to be. So then your priorities are different. Mm-hmm. So if you're the creative head, of course, some element of accountability in budgets and what your target audience is to deliver the product that you set out to do. But I think you're trying to form a company. So obviously business sense as much as creativity has got to take place as much as in any other company anywhere else. Product marketing will be as important as a business sense. But let's get to your second question.
So the second question is, when you are a startup, you have a small team and, it's easier to kind of, have a culture that's, a startup culture essentially. Mm-hmm. But when you start growing into, 20, 30, 40 members, how do you make sure that the culture actually remains intact and actually goes down to everyone else who join later on?
A lot of that depends on the leader. A lot of that depends on how your energy level flows down with people, how you empower people, what's the casual culture in the organization. It's not just about everyone meeting at a coffee table or at a water fountain and having chats and whatever else. What is the genuine culture of the organization? Is it absolutely open? The main point is people joining in there, do they look at it as my company and me and my money? It's not that easy to do. And if you take people at different levels, people come in for different. But I think the time you spend to keep that culture, if it's a 40 people organization, I think 10 people need to imbibe that culture. If it's a 400 people organization, at least 40 people need to imbibe that culture, so then it keeps spreading. But I'm of the strong opinion that even if you're 1,000 people, you can keep that into a, I'm not calling it a startup culture because the definition of startup is gone.
What is a startup culture?
Yeah, so I'm saying a startup culture, normally people define as people when they're 10 people. But I'm saying what you mean is that high energy, high level of ownership, ability to take quick decisions, fully empowered in that thought process. All of that is a culture that can happen in large organizations too. And today more than ever, most large organizations are looking for entrepreneurs, not really even professional executives for that same reason. Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Anything else?
Are you impressed?
Am I impressed with what?
With top motion.
Well, I think it's a very competitive field. I think the two things I would tell you in summation is intellectual property is tough. You can't just go out and say I want to build intellectual property here because it's a difficult one. You're not going to be able to build a global content because the storytelling here will have to be different from anywhere else. Right. On the flip side, if you just remain an outsourcing a contract company, you'll have to constantly scale, and you're as good as your last contract.
Exactly.
So I think that's the tough spot that you'll find yourself in now, tomorrow, and day after, and it's not an easy answer.
Anish, hope that was a satisfying experience with Ronnie.
It was.
Yeah? Okay. Okay. On that note, we're heading into a short break, but stay with us. It's coming up. We have two more entrepreneurs who are raring to go and ask Ronnie all sorts of questions. So stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Starting Up with Ronnie Screwvala, and we just heard Anish Patel talk about his animation company, and now, of course, it's time for the second entrepreneur to take center stage. That's Siddharth Vijay, founder of Image Dynamics. But of course, before I throw it to you, Siddharth, let's take a look at Siddharth's background and what he was doing before he decided to turn entrepreneur.
Hi, my name is Siddharth Vijay. I'm 36 years old. I went to hotel school in Bangalore. And in 2001, I also transferred my credits to Johnson & Wales University in Providence, Rhode Island, where I got an additional degree in hospitality management. After I graduated from Johnson & Wales, I wanted to work in the States for a couple of years to get international work experience, and a couple of years ended up turning into 15. I've always enjoyed motivating people. I've enjoyed getting the best out of them. I believe that every person should be able to represent themselves in the best possible way. I truly believe that if people are given the right opportunities, if they have a good idea, and if they're not afraid of hard work, and they're not afraid of the sacrifices that are required, there essentially is no goal or no obstacle that cannot be either circumvented or surpassed. And since I enjoy working with people and bringing out the best in them, that's where I got the idea of forming Image Dynamics.
Well, that was Siddharth's story so far. So over to you, Siddharth, on what Image Dynamics is really all about.
Thank you so much, Sonali.
60 seconds pitch.
Absolutely, Ronnie. We are actually a company that does training and development. We've specified in the sectors of corporate and education. And we love to get into people's heads and essentially bring out the best in them, bring out their full potential, and help them bring out. Age group is actually college students all the way to corporate professionals.
Right.
So we're working with some B schools to improve their corporate interview techniques, to improve.
So you go into the colleges to do that?
Absolutely.
Meaning into the postgraduate colleges?
Into the postgraduate colleges.
Okay. And when you say college students, you mean even people who are undergrads?
Yes.
And that's more a one-on-one connect?
That is more a one-on-one connect, but also it is a lot of what are the recruiters looking for?
No, but it's much more a one-on-one connect for as your customers as compared to companies that you will go to when it comes to corporates?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And essentially when we are going to colleges, it is, like you said, a one-on-one connect with the specific colleges themselves.
And how long have you been in business?
4 months now.
4 months?
Yes.
Okay.
But we partnered with a company in the States which has been in business for about 22 years.
Okay. And what made you want to do that?
Well, since we were starting up in India, we had, first of all, the most important part for us was it was instant connect as far as the values of the company that the founder of that company bought, as well as I shared. The work ethic was exactly the same.
But is that a lot to do because you came in with the Western education and therefore it was a connect?
I wouldn't say so. I don't think a lot of me has changed. The base of me, the core of me has still stayed the same. A lot of things can be adapted, obviously, to Indian sensibilities.
But that's what I was going to say. Training and DNA of that versus training in India could have different. So how are you going to sort of figure out how to localize things?
Well, that's where my experience as far as an Indian background comes in. I'm also going to be working with a lot of coaches which are local, which have the local experience, that have worked with local corporate houses as well.
And 2 years from now, do you think you'll regret this decision, or you think you'll feel good about it?
I will feel great about it. Okay. I don't think I'm going to regret this decision at all.
Of course.
So that first question.
What's your question?
Of course. My question is, as a training and development company, it's very important for me to draw a direct line from the training that we offer to the productivity of the company itself. What is the best way to initiate such a conversation with the companies that I partner with? As in, how can we improve their, say, productivity or the employee
Well, I guess the fact that you're going to the corporate means you're initiating a conversation right there, right?
Absolutely.
So nobody's going to come and commission you unless there's a deliverable.
Exactly.
So they're going to articulate the deliverable, and then you have to figure out how you're going to do it. The more it's custom made, the more it's a challenge for you as you go forward, because then you're not going to be able to scale it up if you make it too custom made.
Exactly.
So you need to question whether you're creating some strong standard approaches to certain segments, certain industries, certain sectors, certain level of people.
Okay.
And what's your approach to that would be my sort of one question. Key one is how, what's your breadth of ability to be able to service them on an ongoing basis? Because the last thing you want to do is get a client to come in for a particular level and then you're out of there.
Absolutely, that's not something that
So to come back to that, how have you worked that out for now? I mean,
well, as of right now, in the short time that I've been here, it's been a one-on-one basis with the clients. They've commissioned us to come up with specific modules where, for example, women leaders in corporates is a big topic currently. That we're doing a lot of modules and we're creating it for multinationals.
And what's your revenue model? You're charging corporates?
We are charging corporates.
But when you go to colleges, for example, are you charging the college students?
We're not charging the college students, we're charging the colleges themselves.
And they're paying?
And they're paying, yes.
So you have a revenue model today as we speak?
Absolutely.
Okay. And when you say you have a contract, means with one company and then you go forward in that?
Exactly.
So what's the big goal? I mean, where do you go from here? Because there's a lot of training, there's a lot of skill development organizations, there's a lot of online and offline. Firstly, do you see yourself as offline or online?
I would say a bit of both.
But what are you today?
But as of right now, we are offline.
You're offline, okay.
Yes.
So why do
But-
you see yourself online?
Because we really want to get into e-learning as well. We understand how rapidly technology is changing. We
Okay.
know that's the next big thing.
But will the corporates respect e-learning because they feel unless it's not in flesh and blood, then
I think it'll have to be a combination of both.
And now for the last entrepreneur of this episode, that's Sharad Bharadwaj of Youth for Work. He really is the co-founder. But let's listen in to Sharad's story before, of course, he decided to join Youth for Work.
Hi guys, good morning. Hi, I'm Rachit Jain, 30 years old now. I grew up in Delhi, did my college from NII50 Ranchi. Hi, I'm Sharad Bharadwaj. I'm 29 and I grew up in Gujarat. I did my studies from Gujarat University as well as I've done my management from SP Jain. Both started our careers in a corporate, worked for 4 years. After that, I started my first startup, which did not work well. What I realized was people from 18 to 28 years old do not know what are their own real strengths. What are they really good at? What are they really bad at? There is no mechanism for us, for companies to find out what are they really the right people, right set of people for themselves. That is what we set out to address. From the earnings that we had, our PFs, we started Youth for Work.
Well, that was, of course, Sharad Bharadwaj for you, his backstory, and of course, quite heartfelt. I'm sure many of you can relate to that. Now, let's throw it to you, Sharad, and please tell us about what your startup is all about.
Yeah, so if I tell you that, how would you feel if you were to showcase yourself that you are a top ranker in marketing or in Java or say in the English basics in your city, in the country, or in the whole world? That's going to be great, right? So that's what we do at Youth for Work. We are a platform.
But what do you mean you do that? Meaning you rank them is what you're saying?
Yeah, we do rank them.
Yeah, you don't make them toppers, you rank
Yeah,
them.
we have to rank them basically. So we do empower them to take some of the self-assessments. That's of course free of cost, and then they can rank themselves as compared to others, and then they can see how do they scale up. The thing can be like this: that I may be in marketing, or I may be I'm a guy in manufacturing, but I may also have an intent to do something in the lines of branding. So I can have a talent in branding. I can be doing something.
Your product, which is online.
Yes, it's an
It's
online.
an app, or is it? What is it?
No, it's an online platform basically, and we are trying to build an app also. Which
On
is
rating, just rating each one.
Yeah.
Okay.
But who rates them?
We have an inbuilt technology algorithm which actually rates all the people on the scales, and the whole system is online.
So how long has you been in business for?
It's been about 2.5 years.
So it's not really a startup because you've got a good.
Yeah. We already had our base of startup.
What's your revenue?
So our revenue, we have the models wherein we have the solutions for the colleges, we have the solutions for the corporates, and we also do plan for some of the services for the users as well.
Can I just ask a blunt question, because I know this applies to a lot of people overall.
Yep.
Why do we think we can get into a business that is not got a clear-cut revenue model and starts generating revenue within a certain period of time? Why do we think that businesses can be born which do not have a revenue model or have a timeline for a revenue model? Sorry, but I just need to ask that, because that genuinely seems to be a perception, and I think for the entrepreneurial climate in this country to get forward, we need to answer that question quite bluntly.
True. I think, so we have a revenue model and we do have a timeline, so like till now.
But it's expired in 2.5 years, so is it?
No, so the whole operationalizing part of the whole startup has been only for a year. For about the last 1.5 years, we were actually building the whole technology part of it. So it's been only
How many
a
people do you have now?
We have 18 people in our team.
18?
Yeah, 18 people in our team.
Okay. So these are clients, anyone who's a professional and executive is paying you per rating?
No. For them it's free. We actually charge from any of the corporates or the colleges.
Who recruit them?
Yeah, who want to actually have any kind of contact with them.
What's your question?
There is a sort of challenge in the whole startup ecosystem over here, where a few of the entrepreneurs are not able to, in terms of interacting with the correct decision maker in the all the fund houses probably, or like with the investors. It might be because of the whole less time that they're getting in order to pitch up their particular business, or the investors.
No, so are you saying you're not getting the right person in the investing community to pitch to? But that's your problem, not the investors, right?
Absolutely no. So we, at times we might be getting the right person, at times we might not be getting the right person.
Okay.
A lot of times it also happens.
But you're an entrepreneur, you got to figure out how to reach the right person.
Absolutely.
That's your job.
So, yeah, we won't figure out, but the like a lot many times it happens that like a pitches, they get shot down at the levels of the analysts at times, you know.
Yeah.
So how do we overcome that particular thing? Because
no, I think let's be very clear. You know, I mean, entrepreneurs always have this view that investors don't understand their business, will never understand their business. So all we want is their money, and then we'll carry on with doing what we want. Firstly, I think you need to understand, I'm not carrying a brief for an investor because I've been much more an entrepreneur. So I understand the grief and sometimes the sort of isolation that you feel. But I can only say one thing. An investor has taken more risk than most other people because he's looking at somebody having 5 meetings, 7 meetings, and then he's going for it. 5 out of 10 times he's actually wrong, but he can still absorb it from that point of view.
Okay.
He's building a team of people that has to filter. Like after some time, you're not going to meet every single candidate. Somebody will filter. And your customer will say, oh, but you didn't take me onto this set. The fact of the matter is you couldn't do the analysis because you have to delegate. But I think that the trained people in that organization, if you can't make your 60-second pitch, or if you can't communicate your idea and they're not getting USP and they make it pass, the problem is not with them. You have to also reflect on yourself as to what really the problem is.
Which of the 3 entrepreneurs would you bet on?
I would at this stage require a lot more time, and I think they would require a lot more mentoring. I would not enter in these companies at this level of maturity.
On that note, we're taking a short break, but coming up, of course, we have the audience questions for Ronnie, and of course, if you have any questions for the entrepreneurs on the stage, then please keep them handy. We'll take them as we come back. Thank you so much. Welcome back. You're watching Starting Up with Ronnie Screwvala, and of course now we're going to open the floor to the audience that's been like raring to go and waiting to ask Ronnie questions. So I'm going to take it straight to the audience. First question from Anish Pasin.
As an investor, how do you figure out that the stage is right to invest in a digital media company? Because a lot of people who we talk to want to go after numbers straight away. And in this space, if I had, for example, 1 million views on my content.
Yeah, so let me answer that question in some way. I don't think there's a formula. Firstly, I'm on the entrepreneurial side. I'm not wearing an investor hat on. I think the digital space is one which is for the future. A lot of consumption is going to happen there from that perspective. The question of differentiator is going to be when a person comes in and looks at you, they're going to necessarily see your big vision. The problem in India is in this business that there are going to be a lot of people who are going to have a lot of great ideas, but they'll come to a certain level and they'll stop. So if I was giving you one piece of advice, I would be, what are you going to do which is your inflection point to take it to the next level? I see hundreds of people that are going to be in this space right now. It's going to be a herd mentality approach, and then you're going to be stuck. If I don't understand what's going to take you after that to the next level, I won't invest in you.
What do you think is required structurally in our education system so that entrepreneurship somewhat comes to the level of what today is engineering or
doctorate? No, I think it's a good one. Let me just be clear. The level of the element of competitiveness that you need to get, that gets you to the next level. I think the kind of Western education that you get is a very participatory. It's not a one-way process. It's always a classroom where people are in discussions. Everyone has a viewpoint. Nobody feels bad to talk. Here, I think some of our education system allows us to have a sort of a talking approach. So I think a competitive landscape right from day one, and we feel competitive is aggressive. It's not. I think a very interactive process and building people's confidence. If you are not starting with confidence there's no clarity at age 10 or 20 that you're necessarily going to have whether I'm going to be an entrepreneur, I'm going to go look at a professional job. But the level of clarity and confidence that the education system should build, I think is where we're moving to. But otherwise, you're absolutely right. If you don't get it right then, you're coming out in a flustered environment.
What is the biggest mistake you made as an entrepreneur?
I made mistakes all the way through. I've just finished writing a book, and I'd say 50% of that is about failures, which I consider to be setbacks and mistakes. Because if you don't do that, you're not going to be experimenting, you're not being disruptive when you go forward. So, tons of them.
Ronnie, considering that, you've done so well. You're India's most celebrated entrepreneur. You've
Not
made
most
so much
celebrated
money,
entrepreneur,
you know, in the recent past. Why aren't you like holidaying and enjoying and soaking in that money? Why are you starting up all over again with your digital venture?
There seems to be some misnomer about the money context. I think it's been sort of a gratification of 25 years of labor. Some people get a bonus at the end of the year, and some people get a bonus at the end of 25 years, and that's how I look at it. For me, it's very, very clear. This was a second innings for me to go forward, to do some more disruptive things with a better base than what I was. If I had the mentorship that I think people are getting today, I think there would have been a lot of different things I would have done.
What would you have done?
I would have done a lot of things different. Number one would have been element of focus. I think at that early stage, I was extremely as enthusiastic as people here. But if I had some sense of strong mentorship on focus, on the ability to grow something, nobody asked me the scale questions. It just came from me within. Sure. Sometimes that hunger has to be mellowed down. Sometimes that hunger has to be taken and unplugged. So all of that.
Some very inspirational thoughts there, Ronnie. Thanks so much for sharing. And I hope the audience here and, of course, the entrepreneurs are all charged up. And with that, we bring this edition of Starting Up with Ronnie Screwvala to a close. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next week with 3 new entrepreneurs, new set of problems, and, of course, the man himself, Ronnie Screwvala. Until then, it's never too late to go out there and start up.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/etnow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at etnowlive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/etnow.